Hello children, today you are going to learn the topic respiration in human beings. In this chapter you have already learned some topics and today's topic is transportation of gases in blood. So let us first recall the events in respiration. You have already learned some of these events. The first one is breathing. You have learned that breathing is made up of two steps, inhalation and exhalation. So the second step is gaseous exchange in lungs, and today we are going to learn the third topic in this flow of events, that is the transportation of gases in blood. Now what all you are going to learn today, let us see. You will be able to compare the gases which are present in the air that we exhale and the air that we inhale. You will know what is the maximum capacity of breathing of our lungs. You will understand how the gases are transported inside our body, where are they going and how are they being released. And you will also learn about the breathing in different levels on the earth, above the sea level, that is on the mountains, and in the deep sea. Now look at this table. This table shows the percentage of three important gases which are present in air. So it is a comparison of inhaled air and exhaled air. So the first and most important gas is of course oxygen. You can see that in the inhaled air 21% of oxygen is present, but when we give out the air, that is in the exhaled air, it is only 16%. So from this it is very clear that some of the oxygen has entered into our body. Next is the carbon dioxide gas. We all know that we are giving out carbon dioxide when we are doing the respiration. So if you compare it, in the inhaled air 0.04% of carbon dioxide is present, whereas in the air that we are giving out, it is almost increased 100 times, it becomes 4%. So that means that in the respiration carbon dioxide gas is actually produced, it is released. And when you see the next gas, that is nitrogen, which is a very important gas because most of the air, 79% of the air contains the nitrogen. But you can see that when we give out the air, it still contains 79%. What does it mean? It means that nitrogen does not have any importance in our respiration. It is only these two gases, students, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now we have talked about breathing, we have talked about inhalation and exhalation. So during inhalation we take in air, isn't it? Like take a deep breath. When you take this deep breath, how much of air is going inside? And what is the capacity of our lungs? You have learned that the lungs are spongy tissues and they can expand. So how much of air exactly can it retain? Is it 120 ml? Is it 5800 ml? Or is it 500 ml? Children, you will be surprised to know that the maximum capacity of our lungs is 5800 ml. Do you know that it's almost 6 liters? Yes, our lungs can hold on to almost 6 liters of air. So normally at rest, we can inhale or exhale about 500 ml, that is half a liter of air when we do the normal breathing, and when we breathe out that air, 120 milliliters of air still remains in the lungs. And those who are doing deep breathing like pranayama and other exercises, they will be able to inhale more than 500 milliliters of air. So in that way pranayama helps us in providing oxygen to each and every cell of our body. Now coming to today's main topic, the transportation of gases in blood. You all know, you have learned that in the lungs there are minute millions of air sacs which are known as alveoli, and you have learned that the alveoli are surrounded by the blood capillaries. So how much of that oxygen goes into the blood and how much is transported? So this blood transportation, it depends on the relative amounts of gases which are present in the air and their capacity to bind with or to hold on to the molecule of hemoglobin which is present in the RBC or the red blood cells. So in the normal conditions, the level of oxygen is 21%, and in such conditions all of the oxygen molecules can be attached to the hemoglobin molecules. What is this hemoglobin? Remember, it is a protein which is present only in the RBC, and in structure it is very much similar to the chlorophyll which is present in the leaves, but the only difference is that the hemoglobin has a molecule of iron in it, whereas in chlorophyll it is the magnesium. Now as oxygen enters into the blood capillaries from the alveoli, it combines with hemoglobin and it forms a new compound known as oxyhemoglobin. So it can be represented by this equation, Hb plus O2 giving rise to HbO2, hemoglobin plus oxygen giving rise to oxyhemoglobin. Even the reverse reaction is possible, that is, when the blood carries this oxygen to the tissues, there it has to release the oxygen, isn't it? That oxygen has to enter the cells. So there the reverse reaction takes place where HbO2 is dissociating or separating into hemoglobin and oxygen. Now what about the carbon dioxide gas? Similarly, the carbon dioxide gas is usually transported in the form of a bicarbonate ion, but some of it will combine with hemoglobin also, and the rest of it is dissolved in the liquid part of the blood which is known as the plasma. Now what is this? We see some warning here. You are all well aware of this warning, children. Smoking is injurious to health. Now you are going to learn the secret behind this. Why is smoking so injurious to health? Why is it so dangerous? It is because in the smoke which is emitted from the cigarettes, there is a very dangerous gas known as the carbon monoxide, and this carbon monoxide is very good in attaching itself to the hemoglobin. So when we inhale the air or the cigarette smoke, the carbon monoxide quickly attaches itself to the hemoglobin and it does not allow the oxygen molecules to attach. So what happens? This carbon monoxide is circulated in our blood, it reaches each and every cell, and instead of oxygen, the cells are receiving this poisonous gas, carbon monoxide, which can lead to even dangerous situations like coma and lung cancer. Okay, so I hope you have understood the importance why we should not smoke. Now today's last topic is breathing at different levels on the earth. So we all know that where we are living, we compare it with sea level, and the levels of oxygens as we go upwards and as we go deep into the sea, they will not be the same, students. So on the mountains, the oxygen concentration is far less than 21%, almost only 4 to 5% will be there. That means 1/5 of the oxygen only is available. So the breathing becomes very difficult, and because of that the mountaineers use oxygen cylinders at such levels. And what about the deep sea? Those who are doing the research and the deep sea divers, there the story is different. They need a combination of oxygen and nitrogen in order to do the normal breathing over there, because in water the nitrogen will not be dissolved, only the oxygen can be dissolved. So children, I hope you have understood today's class well, and I will be following it with a worksheet which you have to do it. Thank you.